The story of the Titanic. The Titanic was a big, beautiful ship. It was called the unsinkable ship because people thought it would never sink. The Titanic was the largest and most luxurious ship in the world at that time. It was built in Belfast, Northern Ireland, and started its first and last journey on April 10, 1912. The ship was on its way from Southampton, England, to New York City, USA. There were more than 2,200 people on the Titanic. These people were from different countries, and they were traveling for many reasons. Some were rich and famous, traveling in first-class cabins. They had big rooms, fine food, and even an orchestra to play music for them. Others were traveling in third-class cabins. They were mostly immigrants, hoping to start a new life in America. Even though their rooms were small and simple, they were still excited about the journey. The Titanic was a marvel of engineering. It had four tall smokestacks, but only 3 worked. The 4th was just for looks. The ship was 880 feet long and could travel at a speed of 22.5 knots. Inside, it had everything you could imagine: a swimming pool, a gym, restaurants, and even a library. People were amazed by the Titanic and believed it was the safest ship ever built. But the Titanic's journey was not as safe as everyone thought. On the night of April 14, 1912, the ship was moving fast through the icy waters of the North Atlantic Ocean. The weather was clear, and the stars were shining. The sea was calm, but danger was ahead. At 11:40 p.m., the lookout saw something in the distance. It was an iceberg. The lookout rang the alarm bell and called the bridge. The officers tried to turn the ship away from the iceberg, but it was too late. The Titanic hit the iceberg on its side, and a long gash was cut into the ship's hull. The iceberg did not seem very big, but it was deadly. The damage was severe, and the ship began to take on water. The Titanic had 16 compartments to keep water out, but 5 of them were flooded. The ship was designed to stay afloat with up to 4 compartments flooded, but not 5. The crew quickly realized that the ship was going to sink. There were not enough lifeboats on the Titanic. The ship had 20 lifeboats, but it needed enough for all 2,200 people. The lifeboats could only carry about half the passengers. The crew began to load women and children into the lifeboats first. It was a cold and frightening night as people rushed to find a place in the boats. Some people were afraid and did not want to leave the big ship. They believed it was safer to stay on the Titanic. As the hours passed, the situation became worse. The Titanic was sinking faster and faster. The bow of the ship dipped into the water, and the stern lifted high into the air. The orchestra continued to play music to keep people calm, but everyone knew the end was near. At 2:20 a.m. on April 15, 1912, the Titanic broke in half and disappeared beneath the ocean. Over 1,500 people lost their lives that night. Only about 700 people survived, most of them in the lifeboats. The survivors were rescued by a ship called the Carpathia, which arrived a few hours later. The tragedy of the Titanic shocked the world. People could not believe that such a strong and modern ship could sink on its first voyage. The story of the Titanic is remembered as a lesson about human pride and the limits of technology. Even the most advanced creations can fail, and it reminds us to always be humble and prepared. Today, the Titanic rests at the bottom of the ocean, and its story continues to fascinate people around the world. The legacy of the Titanic. The Titanic's sinking had a profound impact on the world. After the disaster, many changes were made to improve the safety of ships. One of the most important changes was the requirement that every ship must have enough lifeboats for everyone on board. This was a rule that had been ignored when the Titanic was built, leading to the tragic loss of so many lives. Another change was the establishment of the International Ice Patrol. This organization was created to monitor the North Atlantic for icebergs and to warn ships of any dangers. Today, ships can navigate more safely through the icy waters because of the Ice Patrol's work. The tragedy also led to the creation of new radio regulations. During the Titanic's journey, not all ships kept their radios on at all times. This meant that important distress signals could be missed. After the disaster, ships were required to keep their radios on 24 hours a day and to have trained radio operators on duty at all times. Over the years, many expeditions have been launched to explore the wreck of the Titanic, which lies about 12,500 feet below the surface of the Atlantic Ocean. In 1985, the wreck was discovered by a team led by Dr. Robert Ballard. They used special equipment to take pictures and videos of the Titanic's remains. The images showed the ship broken into pieces, covered in rust, and surrounded by sea creatures. Many artifacts have been recovered from the wreck, including personal items like jewelry, letters, and clothing. These items are now displayed in museums around the world, where they help tell the story of the people who were on the Titanic. The Titanic has also become a symbol of both human achievement and failure. It was a triumph of engineering, yet it ended in one of the greatest tragedies of the 20th century. The story of the Titanic has been told in books, movies, and documentaries. The most famous is the 1997 movie Titanic, directed by James Cameron. The film became a huge success, winning many awards and making the story of the Titanic known to millions of people around the world. The memory of the Titanic also serves as a reminder of the human cost of overconfidence. The ship was called unsinkable, but this belief led to mistakes that contributed to the disaster. The story teaches us that no matter how advanced our technology, we must always respect the power of nature and the need for caution. Today, more than a century after the Titanic sank, people still remember the ship and the lives that were lost. Memorials have been built in many places to honor those who died. In Belfast, where the Titanic was built, there is a large museum called the Titanic Belfast. It tells the story of the ship, from its construction to its tragic end. The museum is a place where people can learn about the Titanic and reflect on the lessons of its story. The story of the Titanic will never be forgotten. It is a tale of hope and dreams, of bravery and loss. It is a story that continues to touch people's hearts and remind us of the fragility of life. As we remember the Titanic, we also remember the importance of safety, humility, and respect for the forces of nature.